to 18 feet tall. A giraffe needs a 2.5 foot long heart to live. Because when it's pumping blood, what does it got to do, Mark? It's got to go up that long neck, right? Well, what's going to happen to this giraffe if it doesn't have anything protecting itself from the blood really going up high that neck? And there's a lot of pressure there. You're talking 18 feet tall, an animal, pumping blood out of a 2.5 foot long heart. So what's happening to that blood rate, Mark? It's pumping, and how fast is that blood going when it's against gravity? Yeah, I mean, its head is up. It's got to go really fast. Yeah, it's got to go fast. Now, the animal's got to drink, right? This giraffe's got to drink. So it's going to dip its head down into the brook or to the pond to drink. What's all that blood going to do now? It's going to go with gravity, right? So now the giraffe has something incredible in it. I don't know the technical names to it, but you could go on to Dr. Joe Martin's videos, Creatures That Defy Evolution. It's probably one of the best animal explanation of that defy evolution that I have ever watched. And that's where I learned a lot of this from, and it makes complete sense. This right here is going to demonstrate something, and you don't need to remember the name necessarily, just got to know the meaning of it. Irreducible complexity. And here's how it works. When the giraffe puts his head down into the water to drink, his head explodes. And as he's laying there bleeding to death, he should have thought to himself, boy, I should have evolved something that protected my head from blowing up. Well, God had created this animal to have spigots and valves up and down its neck. So when the blood is rushing through, it actually opens and closes, letting blood flow evenly through its neck. But that's not all it has. It's got this incredible sponge in the back of its skull. So when the last bit of blood goes down its neck and goes past the valve, the blood's going to blow up his head. It's going to go right into his brain. But what the sponge does is it soaks up that blood to oxygenate, and it's going to release it back down when it raises back its head. It's incredible. So in other words, blood flow through a giraffe is incredibly complex. Just the blood flow. But here's the problem. And this is the problem and why Darwin evolution doesn't work. If it's true that a giraffe is what it is today, it's the result of what he calls, and I'm going to quote here, complex organs that exist by forms of numerous slight modifications. Now just think about that for a moment. What Darwin is saying, hold on. It's very slowly. But hold on, Mark. Yeah, you're right. That's what he is saying. But with irreducible complexity, what I'm getting at here is that the giraffe simply cannot survive. You remember, the giraffe didn't just get here magically, right? According to evolution, it was an animal that slowly evolved to what it is now. And at some point, the animal had to have a 2.5 foot long heart, an 18 foot long head, and it had to be able to be there simultaneously. That's what irreducible complexity is. The combustion beetle, I might be saying that wrong, is a little beetle that has chemicals in its back. And it's got 2 little cavities in its back that when they combine the chemicals, it blows up its butt. I mean, this is a little explosion through these little chemicals out of this little beetle that when a predator comes, it scares away its predators. Incredible, right? Well, without irreducible complexity, here's what you have to believe, Mark. You have to believe that the animal, like this particular beetle, slowly evolved the chemicals in its chambers. And one chemical did not simultaneously grow. They grew separate, and its molecules grew separately, and its legs grew separately, and it lost information, gained information, and now it's that beetle. But if one chamber is a little bigger than the other, you're going to have a problem with this particular beetle. It's the same thing with the woodpecker. It's the same thing with a rhino. It's the same thing with a giraffe. They are all incredibly complex creatures that need irreducible complexity to be able to describe. So I think that Darwin just wasn't around long enough. Remember what he was looking at, Mark? Remember what Darwin called the cell? He called it the simple cell. But here's what's incredible. This is what we find. Microscopic look at a cell isn't so complex. It's not so complex. I mean, for instance, we now know there are little machines inside of each cell, whereas Darwin's telescopes can only see, microscopes can only see a blob. We now see irreducible complexity. Take a look at a cell sometime. I'm sure you've seen a cell. It's got little motors and little transport carts. It's got a little a router, or whatever it's called, that brings information to another part of the cell. When scientists look at a cell, they see irreducible complexity. Here's Darwin's observation. That cell evolved over millions of years, and it's a simple cell. But that's not so in today's technology. That's not so when we look at microorganisms. We see an incredible, complicated process called irreducible complexity. It is impossible for the giraffe to have evolved. It's not that he couldn't evolve, it's impossible. And by the way, if you're interested in talking to me, you can call 646-595-3275. Don't forget to not swear. Oh boy, no swearing on my show. I'll kick you right out. That's right, I got the buttons now. All right, but if you want to talk to me and Dr. Mark, 646-595-3275. Do you believe in evolution in the macro sense? Do you believe we come from apes? Do you think we've slowly evolved over time? Well, I just shared one evidence why that can't be the case. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not evolved. Here's the proof. Genesis chapter 1. You are made in God's image. He created you from the dust of the earth into what you are today. We are the pipeline of Adam. Every person that comes after Adam is us. And if anything, we're de-evolving. I don't think we're evolving. We're getting sicker. We're dying sooner. People in the Bible times lived to be 900 years old. I wouldn't say that's gaining information. I think we're losing information, if anything, and that's the opposite of evolution. So, Mark, what do you think of that? What do you think of animals that need all of these complex parts to it in order to survive? But there's no evidence of that. I mean, we don't have proof that an animal species has turned into another animal species. And look, you got to start from the beginning, Mark. Remember, I'm trying to help you. You got to start from the beginning. Even if you can somehow come up with a story that biologically we come from lower species of animals, you still have one major problem. You want to know what that is? We come from a rock 4.6 billion years ago. Now, if you want to believe that we come from a rock 4.6 billion years ago, you go right ahead and believe that, but I don't think that's true. And I don't think that should be taught in our schools. In fact, I think creation should be taught in our schools. Instead, it actually explains life. Did you know that Darwin thinks that we have a common ancestor? You wanted me to tell you what it is? Plants. Plants. We branched off from plants. So you're related to the banana, Mark. No, I didn't say you like bananas. I said that you are a banana. You come from a banana. You have DNA. You have a DNA code that is complex, just like a banana is. So we must have evolved from some more microorganism. See, the problem that I see with most evolutionists, and this is no reflection on you, Mark, necessarily. I think that you're more agnostic when it comes to this stuff. But people who are pretty gung-ho about it will tend to do this. They'll use big, fancy scientific words, and they will never go back to the beginning. They never go back and say words like, we come from a rock 4.6 billion years ago, and that's because they think it's just as ridiculous. The life, listen, Mark, I'm gonna share something with you. I don't know if you want to write this down, but this comes from Lee Strobel, who is another one of my favorite apologists. He's a great scientific debater. This is what you have to conclude, Mark. I want you to really think about this. Nothing produces everything. Non-life produces life. Randomness produces fine-tuning. Chaos produces information. Unconsciousness produces consciousness. And non-reason produces reason. Now, does that sound like anything that we have proof for today? Right, and that's because evolution is not a theory, nor is it a fact. It's a silly religion. Evolution is the silliest religion in the world. Look, a lot of people out there say Christianity's dumb, it's stupid. Well, listen, I believe that 6,000 years ago, God created everything that we have with complexity, with design, with purpose. You believe no purpose, and we come from a rock. In fact, I will quote you Richard Dawkins. This is one of my favorite quotes from Richard Dawkins. He said, if we come from the universe, then there are no purposes. He says, there are no goods and evils. There are no cruels and kinds. Nothing but blind, pitiless indifference. Well, Mr. Dawkins, if there are no purposes, then your book has no purpose. Why do we care about your book if there are no purposes? And he's right about something, Mark. I'm telling you, he's right about something. If we come from a rock, we come from the universe, millions and millions of years ago, then there really isn't any purpose. But Mark, what do you experience in your life? I'm going to talk to you serious now. What? Not that this conversation hadn't been serious, but I'm going to really dive into this now. Mark, do you see any evidence in your life of purpose? What kind of purpose do you have in your life? Just tell me about it. Family?